A very good evening to all of you and welcome to Primetime News. We are coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Mazrasa.
Hello there, very good evening. I'm Joel. It's going to be start off today with a look at the headline making stories.
Protests stall traffic in Colombo. Water cannons fired to disperse protesting university students. Norachole generator restarted. Intermittent power outages continue. Vijay Dasa Rajapaksa says President has not approved co-sponsor deal on Sri Lanka at the UNHRC tomorrow. What happened to the 50 million in taxes owed by the distillery of Arjun Aloysius?
On to the stories in detail now. Heavy traffic was reported in Colombo due to several protests held citing various demands.
The Inter-University Students Federation and the Students' Union of the Sabaragama University were protesting opposite the University Grants Commission in Ward Place, Colombo, citing the number of students recruited for the new academic year at the Sabaragama University was slashed. Police fired tear gas and water cannons to disperse the students. Later, the students dispersed after a protest held obstructing the Ward Place road.
33 student enrollments under social science and languages have been slashed by an arbitrary circular issued by the University Grants Commission. The governing bodies of the universities have no answers. The gates of the UGC is closed every day and they deceive us by providing the same answer all the time.
Heavy traffic congestion was reported in Boralla and Narahempita due to the protest. In addition, the Medical Faculty Students Action Committee and their parents protested opposite the Health Ministry today, citing the ministry as attempting to provide SITEM students with their medical degree by violating the decision taken to award it via the Kotalavala Defence University.
Locals from Aruwakalu, Puttalam staged a demonstration opposite the Presidential Secretariat today against the disposal of garbage in their area. The Gaul Road opposite the Presidential Secretariat was temporarily closed due to this demonstration. Protesters said they strongly object the solid waste management project that is proposed to be constructed in the Aruwakalu area.
There are other options. Disregard methods being followed by the international community. This project has an issue in standards. This project will inconvenience the locals of 3 districts and will cause harm to the environment as well. We staged this demonstration today against the government's plan to destroy Puttalam. The government is committing a crime by implementing a project without a proper plan. If the project is to be implemented, it must be done properly.
Subsequently, 7 people were permitted to enter the presidential secretariat to explain their grievances. An additional secretary to the president said that the president will provide a solution to their problems following his tour in Bulletin district, which is set to take place on the 22nd of this month. Subsequently, demonstrations were also staged opposite the Prime Minister's office, and 5 protesters were permitted to meet the secretary to the Prime Minister. The protesters said that the Prime Minister's secretary had promised to inform the Prime Minister in this regard immediately and make arrangements for a meeting with the Premier on a future date.
Only 340 families reside in the Serakkuliya area. However, 5,000 people had gathered in Colombo for this demonstration. It is clear that this demonstration was staged not only by those who are affected by this project, but also those who have hidden agendas. If they are against this project, we have to request them to provide us with a solution. By the 15th, the first phase of this project was completed. Currently, the Arwakalu landfill is capable of accepting 600 tons of garbage on a daily basis. We have informed the Pradeshia Sabhas and municipal councils in the Bulletin district to dump their garbage in this landfill. In a few months, there will be no space in Colombo to dump garbage. If there is no space in Colombo, what will we do with the garbage?
Still in headline making news this evening, now attempts to add the power generated by the second generator at the Noracholi power plant to the national grid has so far been unsuccessful. The Ceylon Electricity Board says that as a result, the supply of electricity may have to be curtailed. Media spokesperson of the ministry, Sulakshana Jayawardena, said that steps are underway to restart the generator.
A technical failure caused a breakdown in the second generator at the Noracholi power plant at 11 a.m. yesterday. The malfunctioning resulted in the loss of 270 megawatts of power to the national grid and caused power outages in certain areas of the country. The supply of electricity was disrupted in a number of areas, including the districts of Gaul, Kalutara, Kurunagala, Anuradhapura and Trincomalee. The livelihoods of many of locals living in these areas have been impacted by the prevalent situation.
තේරෙනවනේ පේනවනේ මේ කිසිම දෙයක් වැඩ නැහැ අපි මේවට කුලී ගෙවන්න ඕනේ සේවකයන් පඩි දාන්න ඕනේ චෙක් දාන්න ඕනේ මේ දේවල් අනිත් දේවල් වලට අදාළ නැහැනේ බීම් එකක් විකුණ ගන්න නැහැ කූල් නැතුව තරාදිය charge කර ගන්න බෑ එකෙන් කිරණ දෙයක් කිරා ගන්න විදියක් නැහැ දැන් දවස් දෙක තුනම මේ විදිය කිසි දැනුම් දීමකින් තොරව තමයි මේ වැඩේ වෙන්නේ අපේ ඇමතිලා හැමදාම කියනවා දීර්ඝ කාලීන කෙටි කාලීන මධ්‍ය කාලීන විසඳුම් ගේනවා කියලා හැබැයි හැමදාම තප්පුලනවා විතරයි කිසිම විසඳුමක් මේ වෙනුවෙන් ලැබිලා නැහැ පුදුම කරුමයක් මේ රටේ ජනතාවට විඳින්න වෙලා තියෙනවා මේ රටට ආලෝකයක් දෙන්න පුළුවන් ආණ්ඩුවක් නෙමෙයි ආණ්ඩුවත් කලුවරේ අතපත ගන්නවනේ ඉතින් කොහොමද ආණ්ඩුවේ ආලෝකයක් දෙන්නේ දැන් කඩේකට ගියා කණ්ඩ ගන්න දේ පේන්නේ නැහැ ඉතින් කණ්ඩ කෑවේ නැතුව ආවන්න මිනිස්සු ලයිට් බිල කපනවා වෙලාවට ලයිට් දෙන්නේ නැහැ උනාට මේ රජේ අනේ මන් දන්නේ නැහැ මොන පිස්සු කෙල්ලනවද කියලා අපට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ එක්ක අපිට අපේ ඔළුව හොඳ නැහැ එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ නායකයන්ගේ ඔළුව හොඳ නැහැ
There are 2 institutions in this country with the highest number of engineers. One of them is Sri Lankan Airlines, but of course the entire country knows the exact position of this loss-making institution. The other institution, interestingly, is the Ceylon Electricity Board. There are a number of trade union organizations within the Ceylon Electricity Board as well. However, the issue at hand is the fact that the breakdown of one of the 3 generators at the Noracholi power plant is causing blackouts island-wide and has disrupted the lives of many hard-working Sri Lankans, most of them who work for daily wages or simply run their own businesses. The power crisis in the country has its own history, beginning in the 1990s, where the people in the country had to experience mandatory power cuts on a regular basis. And since then, the government that came and went has resorted to the purchase of power from private power plants. The result of this ordeal is the people of this country being burdened with the exorbitant prices that have to be paid for the purchase of power from these private power stations. Now, this trend of purchasing power from private generators was continued for reasons that obviously point towards corruption at the CEB. One representative of a trade union recently speaking to the media said about 50% of the money paid by electricity consumers of the country are simply being used to pay the sins of the massive corruption that take place at the CEB. Now, the Noracholi power plant was constructed at a massive cost of $1.45 billion US. $1.45 billion US. If you're wondering when, the construction completed only in the year 2014. But since then, the Ceylon Electricity Board has not taken steps to construct a power plant of its own. It was stressed time and time again that there needs to be more power plants in the country to meet the growing demand for power in the island. It is as clear as water that if these proposals were taken seriously and implemented, Sri Lanka wouldn't be facing the power crisis that we are facing today. Recently, a proposal was also approved to incorporate power generated through generators at public institutions. Now, this was cited as a low-cost alternative to address the power crisis in the country, as opposed to the highly expensive option of purchasing power from private power plants. This proposal has not been implemented as yet. During a press briefing held recently, we saw LTL, that is Lanka Transformers Limited, pulling in one direction, the subject minister pulling in another direction, the ministry secretary taking an entirely different stance, and the PUSL on a whole different page. All the while, the general public of the country stands in the dark, helpless. In July 2017, the Secretary to the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy, Dr. Suren Batagoda, sends this letter recommending the construction of certain power plants to meet the energy demand of the country. Notably, with the exception of one, all the other power plants mentioned in this list are private power plants. The CEB has barely any power plants under its purview, and their actions clearly show that they prefer to continue on the path of purchasing power from private power plants at exorbitant prices. Dr. Suren Batagoda is the person who endorsed this letter. He was the Secretary to the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy even under the previous government. But this proposal has not been implemented, nor has the CEB found a viable solution to the power crisis that the general public of this country are suffering tremendously. Now, while the government is promoting the use of electric cars for the country and even recently inking an agreement for the construction of an electric railway system from Malabe to Colombo, the inability of public officers, among other reasons, have caused the power crisis in the country to worsen. If responsible officials cannot perform their duties properly and provide essential services to the public, some good advice on how they should act is included in a quote from media mogul and philanthropist Ted Turner. Do something, either lead, follow, or move out of the way.
The Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights is set to consider the report on reconciliation, human rights and accountability in Geneva tomorrow. Now, the Permanent Mission of Sri Lanka in Geneva said that Sri Lanka's report will be considered in the first session.
A resolution headed by the United States on Sri Lanka was passed at the United Nations Human Rights Commission on the 1st of October 2015. Sri Lanka also acted as co-sponsors on this resolution. At the UNHRC session in March 2017, Sri Lanka was granted an extension of a period of 2 years to fulfill these obligations. Tomorrow, the High Commissioner on Human Rights is due to present a complete report on the completion of the recommendations on the report. The actions taken on Sri Lanka by the Office of the Human Rights Commissioner will be based on the findings of these reports. A group representing the government, including Foreign Minister Tilak Marapana, arrived in Geneva to respond to the claims that are included in the report. Meanwhile, a fresh resolution on Sri Lanka concerning reconciliation, human rights and accountability is set to be presented at the Human Rights Council in Geneva by a core group including Britain. The government has also announced that they are prepared to co-sponsor this resolution so as to get a 2-year extension period. What do you think will happen at the Human Rights Commission this time around?
Sending a delegation to Geneva is a joke. That our ambassador in Geneva, Ambassador Assis, he has already signed it, so there's no point in sending a delegation to Geneva.
Yesterday, the representatives of the joint opposition met His Excellency the President and requested that he get involved and issue an order to ensure that Sri Lanka in no way agrees to co-sponsor any resolution on the country.
Meanwhile, thoughts were expressed on the situation in Sri Lanka in sessions that took place today.
The Sri Lankan state, however, has not only gone after the Tamil liberation movement, but also any individual or institution that has in its perception supported the Tamil struggle for self-determination. Media institutions, journalists and media workers have been amongst the worst affected. Of the 48 media persons that were killed during the war, 41 were Tamil who were targeted by the state. Even amongst the 7 non-Tamils who were killed, at least 2 of them were killed for exposing state atrocities against the Tamils. The Sri Lankan state's latest target is the media institution Tamil Tandi. its staff are being continuously threatened by the TID for publishing an article about a martyr who struggled for the right to self-determination. This is despite the government's assurance to this council that it will repeal the PTA. For as long as the UN and this council treats the right to self-determination with mere tokenism, those who truly struggle to realize this inalienable right will continue to be victims. I thank you.
A hartal took place across the northeastern provinces today, demanding that Sri Lanka not be given an extension to fulfill the promises made at the UNHRC. As a result, shops, banks and all other institutions were closed. Our reports indicate that transportation activities were also affected. A large group, including the relatives of those who are missing, university students and politicians, carried out a walk in Batiklo along with the hartal.
Now, views regarding the government's plan on co-sponsoring a rollover resolution during the 40th regular session of the UNHRC were expressed in Parliament as well today.
As per Article 32 of the Constitution, to do all such acts and things not consistent with the provisions of the Constitution or written law, as by international law, customs or usage, the President is authorized or required to do so. It is this article that gives authority to enter into an agreement with a foreign country. I inquired from President Sirisena whether he had permitted to co-sponsor the resolution for another 2 years. The President had not granted permission in such regard. When GLP Riss was the Foreign Minister, Sajin Vasgunawardena was appointed above him. Powers were decentralized. He was empowered to even assault the ambassador. That's how foreign politics were established. This is the issue at present. The current Foreign Minister, Tilak Marapana, is not aware and informed of the decisions that are made by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Even the Secretary of his ministry is not aware of such decisions. So, who is responsible for such decisions? Certain decisions are not made at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Certain meetings of the Ministry of Finance take place at the Finance Minister's residence. State officials or ministers do not attend these meetings. Such meetings are only attended by NGO personnel and friends. Who gives orders to the Sri Lankan ambassador in Geneva? Mano Tittawalla. Who is Mano Tittawalla? He is an individual who represents and speaks on behalf of everyone. What position does Mano Tittawalla hold in the government? What right does he have to make decisions regarding Sri Lankan foreign politics? I ask everyone, do you approve this? After the USA withdrew from the UN Human Rights Council, there is no allegation against Sri Lanka. From the President who gave orders to the soldiers, their lives are in danger. We were isolated from the international community. Our country was on edge for economic sanctions. After the 2015 elections, during these few years, we have succeeded in reducing international pressure. The resolution has even praised Sri Lanka several times. Is co-sponsoring the resolution right or wrong? It's a different matter. This resolution will not negatively impact our country. Officials of the UNHRC told me, as well as the politicians of the North, that if devolution of power in the country can be achieved, provincial councils can be further strengthened. It was Mahinda Rajapaksa who jailed the most important war hero, Sarath Fonseca. They do not have to speak of the international community. This is something regarding the future. Who will believe them? This is not regarding the protection of war heroes. These are narrow political agendas.
An irregularity at the Information and Communication Technology Agency of Sri Lanka, or the ICTA, was revealed in Parliament today.
Honourable Speaker, an issue has been raised regarding the ICTA being paid millions in 2016 to prepare a program for the National Intellectual Property Office. But a program is yet to be provided. I have called on a meeting, and as to my knowledge, the said company has paid salaries of about 400 million. It was a senior lawyer at the AG's department who notified me on the failure to create the program. I think we have arranged a meeting with MP Ajit P. Pereira on the matter. NIPO had given 31 million rupees to ICTA to network their system, and ICTA has used the money for another purpose. That's wrong. I hope to pay a personal visit to the National Intellectual Property Office and check their system. Digitizing the National Intellectual Property Office is important. I will discuss on creating a platform to receive the money back and solve this issue.
The Chief Executive Officer of ICTA during the period in which this questionable transaction had taken place was Mohundan Kanage. Newsfirst exposed a number of transactions connected to the CEO, including the preparation of the National Payment Platform. The allegations are now being proven, just as the allegations on the bond scam were proven with time. Though the president took the necessary steps to remove Kanage from ICTA, no proper investigation had taken place over the allegations made against him. For your attention.
An alcohol distillery belonging to Arjun Aloysius, a suspect allegedly involved in the bond scam, was a suspect of debate in Parliament today.
I think you are aware about the tax evasion by the distillery belonging to Arjun Aloysius. The distillery owns the excise department 50 million rupees. It's been 4 years now, but the excise department has not received this amount due in taxes. The tax payments must be made by the company belonging to Arjun Aloysius, as well as any other company that owes taxes to the government. Will be recovered by the Ministry of Finance. A request has been made for 70,000 coconut trees for the extraction of moonshine in the Kalutara district. 38,000 of the 70,000 coconut trees have been requested by the distillery that belongs to the previously mentioned company. The Coconut Cultivation Board only recommends 69 coconut trees per acre. The Excise Department is urging that the license be issued for them. Officials say that 6 ministries and MPs from both sides as well as former ministers are attempting to get this license to produce fake moonshine. We can only provide this if the requests are made within a legal framework. We will not permit anything that goes beyond the law. If there are any issues regarding the law, please inform us. We will look into such matters as well.
We now focus our attention to a story published in print media today.
Recently, the Sunday edition of the Lanka Deepa in an article headline revealed a Sri Lankan politician owns a hotel in the Middle East. The report further revealed at the entrance of this hotel is a large portrait of the said politician. Quoting this very article, the Daily Mirror also published a report today. Who is this politician?
Former Navy Commander Admiral Vasantha Karanakuda arrived at the Criminal Investigations Department for the third time today to provide a statement on the abduction and forced disappearance of 11 youth.
The police media unit said the former Navy commander arrived at the Criminal Investigations Department at around 9:30 am and was questioned by CID officers until 1 pm. The former Navy commander has been summoned before the CID again on the 26th of this month. An investigation is currently underway with regard to the court case filed in relation to the abduction and forced disappearance of 11 youth from Colombo using white vans in 2008.
Country first.
Now, speaking in Parliament today, non-Cabinet Minister of Science, Technology and Research Sujiva Senasinghe admitted that opinions of certain ministers had caused problems in setting proper standards for items including milk powder by the Minister of Science and Technology. He was responding to a question raised by UPFA MP Kaeli Rambukwala today.
Science and Technology Minister must be the authority on this. You can't get views from all sundry and, and accept it.
We have the last word on that as well. The standards are given by us, but then there are so many opinions and there are too many cooks also in the...
This is exactly what I am saying. You will have to throw out the opinions. So obviously, you need to have a put your foot down. And unfortunately, you are not in the cabinet to do that. This is what I say. Now that you have, that they have created science and technology should be the non-cabinet. I can understand this.
And I think you're spot on that. We have, but so many, everybody has opinion, so anybody can give opinion. So when the opinion comes sometimes from one of the government ministers, then it's a bit of a problem for us also too. We can't get into a tussle.
That's exactly what I'm saying. You should be able to override all that, and the government must make as a policy, must accept that the science and technology will have the last. I mean, what is the big idea, right, of having a science and technology ministry? Huh? Give him a promotion. I
think the only solution, as the Sabhanayaka said, promotion for me in the cabinet.
Well, State Minister Ranjan Ramanayaka too expressed his views in Parliament today.
The former president Mahinda Rajapaksa says that Tajuddin drove his vehicle at a speed of 175 km per hour. A vehicle cannot drive at 175 km per hour on Park Road. This is a violation of court law. This violation is taking place outside of Parliament.
This is murder, and this matter has been taken up before the judiciary. While this has been made a court order, the former president says that this was an accident. I request the CID to summon the former president Mahinda Rajapaksa and to question him in this regard. 22 minutes prior to the death of Tajuddin, he had purchased a bottle of water from Laughs. He has also thrown his purse and phone 5 kilometers away and then faced the accident.
When an MP speaks, he must do so on the subject matter and not divert to other topics. MP Ranjan Ramanayaka is speaking unrelated to the topic.
You can continue. Many MPs spoke on various subjects. I even refer to Section 91. I believe these are common issues. There is a doctor in this parliament who is better than all leading doctors in the medical council. His name is Mahinda Rajapaksa. Rumour has it that nearing elections, we will exhume the body of Wasim Tajuddin. However, this time it was not us, but the former president Mahinda Rajapaksa himself who did so. After this incident took place, the former First Lady Shanti Rajapaksa had given 36 calls from temple trees to Anurasena Nayaka. Why were calls given in the middle of the night?
When State Minister Ramanayaka was speaking, I raised a point of order. If so, there is no point in having standing orders in the first place. If we follow standing orders and when a point of order is raised in Parliament, you must act according to the standing order. You cannot give your opinion. I am chairing at this moment.
According to State Minister of Finance, Eran Wickramaratne, Sri Lanka remains one of the few countries in the region that does not have campaign financing laws.
Sri Lanka certainly lags behind regional neighbour Singapore, for instance. Singapore's Political Donations Act actively prohibits non-Singaporean individuals or companies to make a donation of a political nature. In the United States, most political donations are either small or large. In context, US $200 is considered small and anything over US $250 is considered large. All information relating to the details of the donor are available for the public to view, and in this day and age, the information is freely available on the internet. Internationally, campaign finance laws are not limited to financial donations only.
After all, in a functioning democracy, elections are the basic mechanism for choice and change. When considering this question, we have to ensure that elections are won free and fairly and are not bought by the vast amount of rupees and cents available to any political party. But there's also a philosophical question here, and that is with regard to as to whether the state should put a cap on the amount of money that a political party spends to get into office. Surely they have a right to raise as much finance. But the key question, therefore, is that of accountability and transparency. If people are given the information as to who is providing and how much they are providing, then of course there is that degree of transparency, and then people can decide whether they want to support that party or not. But this is a debate that we have to have, an all-inclusive debate, because this is a very key question of the way we elect our leaders.
The foundation stone for the construction of a Dhamma school in the Uttarakhand Rajamaha temple in Tissamaharama was laid under the auspices of the Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Minister Sajid Premadasa.
This Dhamma school is to be constructed under the Sisu Dham Sevana program, which aims to construct Dhamma school buildings in 214 religious places. The total cost to construct this building is estimated to be 4 million rupees. I believe that if we are to develop our country and create a well-mannered, disciplined society, we must protect our children from smoking, consuming alcohol and narcotic substances. Tissamaharama is definitely a holy land. However, there are liquor stores located right opposite the largest school in this area. We must ensure that liquor stores will not be opened in such holy lands.
The Bangladesh Art Exposition in Sri Lanka was held for the third consecutive day today.
Organised by the High Commission of Bangladesh to Sri Lanka, the art exposition brings together an internationally acclaimed collection of Bangladeshi art. An art camp has also drawn some of the leading contemporary artists from the two countries. The Society for the Promotion of Bangladesh Art hopes that the exposition would go a long way in deepening interaction between the art community in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. The exhibition will continue till the 21st of March at the JDA Pereira Gallery in Colombo.
In sports news now, yesterday in Parliament, former President of Sri Lanka Cricket, Tilanga Sumudipala, accepted that his brother pays taxes on betting-related activities. Now, speaking on the matter, Minister Arjuna Ranatunga expressed these views to Sports First.
According to the sports law of the country and the ICC's Code of Ethics, a person cannot hold office if he is directly or indirectly involved in carrying out the business of gaming or betting. When an allegation is made against a sportsman, he is not permitted to enter the premises of the sports centre. However, in this instance, Tilanga Sumudipala shamelessly, with those at SLC, poses for photographs with personnel from the ICC. He portrays this is not an issue. He himself accepted the fact his father was connected to betting and his brother is in the betting business. I am happy he accepted it, but it is disappointing to note the former sports ministers did not listen to us and did not pay any attention towards this. They turned a blind eye towards these concerns. At present, there is a huge responsibility on the laurels of the incumbent sports minister to realize if such people are in cricket administration, would it favour the cricket administration? Should there be such an administration? How can the country move ahead with such an administration for cricket? Matches are fixed and the papers for this are printed by Tilanga Sumudipala's brother, and it is Tilanga Sumudipala who works with the cricket administration. Therefore, he can even influence the players to commit a wrong act.
Meanwhile, in news from the first T20 between Sri Lanka and South Africa in Cape Town, South Africa won the toss and elected to field first. Joel?
With that, we wrap this edition of Primetime News. It was a pleasure having you with us. I'm Joel Odskun.
And I'm Azra Hassan. Take care and good night.